Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Raid Shadow Legends. And in today's video, I want to do a video about Hydra. Now, I know that this is something that I haven't done. I'm not sure if I've ever done a video on Hydra, but the purposes of this video is going to be largely aimed towards newer and mid-game players to try and get into Hydra. Get your team going for even your first key on that. So I'm going to be taking a look at the different teams that I've been using. I want to share why I am using that team, the kind of character composition that I go for to build a team around Hydra so that you guys can start building for Hydra to get shards for MITHRALA, one of the best champions in the game that you're going to get by competing in Hydra. Obviously, that's going to help for your clan as well. But MITHRALA is an absolute game breaker champion, and by progressing further in Hydra, it's going to make it easier for you to get her unlocked. So we're going to be talking about that in today's video. Before we get started, of course, I do want to remind people that if you haven't started playing Raid yet, what are you waiting for? Download using the QR code in the top right hand of the screen to get Karato of the Shadowkin faction for free, and 3 amazing epics with him: Ugo, Tagore, and Deacon Armstrong at account level 15, 30, and 40. And don't forget a second legendary character, the legendary Void champion, Tahanarak of the Barbarian faction. You can get her by using the promo code Desert Queen within the first 48 hours of a brand new account. So that's 2 legend, actually 3 if you count Mikey, really, right? You get the 7-day login for that. So let's get started. I want to, because my end of the Hydra week is ending soon. I left 1 key just to kind of do some stuff for you guys. Now, I left my normal run out. So I did my brutal run, I did my hard run, I still have my normal key. That's where I'm at right now on my account. So is this going to be a video for endgame players? No, it's not. it's going to be probably a video for people that are new, all the way up to maybe like 9 months, right, who are still kind of struggling, and what I do with my Hydra builds. Now, I'm going to start from the top, right? I'm not doing Nightmare. I think I might be able to break into Nightmare soon, but I don't know if the whole of my alliance is really there yet. So to get a kill, it might be, I like to get the 2 chests rather than 1 chest. But let's talk about my upper team and what I have here. So this is my brutal Hydra team. Now this is like my, I think, quote unquote, my best team. Very well that it could be that I could feng shui this a little bit and put in my turtles with some of these characters. And especially when Leo comes out, this could be very powerful. So I want to talk about the number 1 most important part of a Hydra team, in my opinion anyways, is going to be block buffs. So this comes from my Fural of the Barkhorn. You can't actually shortcut to the character, but Fural of the Barkhorn, he's like this Christmas tree guy. He has a really amazing debuffs, and the most important thing on Hydra that you need is block buffs. So his A2 has accuracy down and block buffs. He also has increased resistance. Honestly, he's a really great champion, all-arounder champion for clan boss activity. I use him in my Chimera as well, which we're not really talking about in today's video. But this was it. So I had Fural as my major support and block buffer. Esther Dreamsong is my kind of quote-unquote speed lead. She does have a speed up mechanic. She has a slow on her A2 and turn bar up and down. You can't turn bar rewind Hydra heads or anything like that. And then also having a provoke character is really important. So my Islan here is Strategos Islan is really important for me anyways for provoking the Head of Decay. And the Head of Decay, I'm just going to jump into this really quickly here, is this one, right? We can look at the boss guide anyways. The Head of Decay. This is one of the most important things here, all the way at the bottom. I think it's this one, right? That has no, is it not the Decay? Right, yeah, it removes all debuffs from all heads, then fills the turn meter of all heads by 30%. So this skill here, the Speed of Decay. Now you can actually provoke the Head of Decay so that he doesn't do any of this stuff. That being said, I've seen people do comps without provoke, and this basically requires a second block buffer, block buffs. So you would kind of ignore this, especially when it comes to auto simming and this kind of stuff. Like you would just ignore this completely, and then you would have a second character that can also put block buffs in case it gets cleansed. You would basically need to rotate this around. But for the purposes of this, I do use a single team with a single block buffer with a provoke character. So this is kind of important for a standard build for Hydra. Now, some other things that I have, my Michinaki, of course, a lot of these are legendary characters, which is why it's my top team. Michinaki puts out a long range of debuffs: Hex, attack down, defense down, burn, this kind of thing. And then I have my main DPS here as Tholen. So he's going to be doing a good chunk of my overall damage, as you can see here, 39 million. And Cardial is another support character with the Revive on Death. He's kind of like making sure my guys don't die a little bit. I actually don't have very much healing. However, Cardial does assist my other characters, and his A1 does do party-wide healing. So I'm kind of light on the healing. Estrid's passive also does this a little bit, and then it's mostly Cardial's basic. The rest of it's like, there's not much healing going on here, but somehow it still works. So this is my brutal team. Now my hard team is a little bit different. I want to show you this. This is where I'm using my turtles currently, but I might shift them up to the main team. So I have Mikey and Donnie. I've gone at length at telling you why Mikey and Donnie are amazing. They just are. If you have Donnie, use them with Mikey. You as many turtles as possible in the same team is great. Now, the other thing that I have here is Gracchos Turndrake. Now, he is also my block buffer for this team here. Again, something that you really want to have on every team. If you have two, even better. Like, if they somehow fit in, that's great. Seeker is my provoke character, just like my Strategos Islan on my other team. This one, Seeker has a turn bar up, attack up, and then his A1 does a provoke. So I'm using him as the Head of Decay provoker. Geomancer spreads some burns, reflects some damage. I'm surprised he got about 14 million damage almost here. And that's really important there too. And with Nia, who I actually don't know who's the leader in this case. I think it's Dawn. I forget how it works on the left to right here when it comes to the actual characters. I forget who's actually leader. Nia on her A1 has speed down, because if you notice that not a lot of characters here have speed down. They don't. But what I like about the Mikey Geomancer combo, and I gotta say the Donnie Mikey Geomancer combo, is that Mikey can spread debuffs. Mikey can spread Geomancer's single target burn. So this is really important if Geomancer's burn goes first. Mikey does the spread probably on the second attack, depending on how your speed lines up here, and spreads that Geomancer burn. The burn is what's important for the damage reflection on his mechanics and his kit. And then basically Nia just keeps everyone else alive. Some ally protection there, some slow, some good buffs and debuffs. So again, I'm kind of crutching on one major DPS per, which can suck, right? If Mikey or if Tholen were to get eaten, it would be a little bit more challenging for some of my other characters. Some people do run 2 DPS, so it's really going to depend on what you have available in your team. Now, the other thing to getting a really good score is what I talked about before, is being able to switch your gear around. So you may have noticed in my Lydia video, if you guys have been following for a while, my Lydia video, I talked about how you can just swap your gear around for fraction grips, and you can do the exact same for Hydra. Now, whether or not you're doing multiple Hydra keys or not, for me, I am, right? So I have some other characters here, and this is what I wanted to run for my normal Hydra, right? This is like my C team, so it's not the best here, but I have Ugo here as my block buffer. MITHRALA is a really great, and MITHRALA could easily be in one of my other teams. MITHRALA is a really great champion for cleansing, things like that. She has insane resistance, so she's always going to get that cleanse off. Newt, obviously, no explanations there really needed. And then Wukong is another character that can do block buffs. What's good about Hydra normal is that the requirements for accuracy is quite low. In fact, I found out, I didn't know it was this low. It was like under 200. I think it was in the 150 to 200 range for Hydra normal, which might sound high, but like when you get to where I'm at, you're kind of like normally running around 300 to 350 on some champions. So I was surprised that it was this low, which means I can keep Wukong largely in his glass cannon DPS build. And then I have Lysanthe or Beastbane over here, one of the fusion events from a little while back, and then Tagore as my speed up. So you want to have a very balanced party. Definitely make sure, and in this instance, I don't have a provoke. I'm running 2 block buffs, but not actually any provoke champs, because if I actually check like what I have left. Now I do have quite a few leftover champions, but none that can provoke, really. None that are really good. Like I have some extra DPS champions. I actually have Lydia the Death Siren. I need to fit her somewhere into my compositions a little bit here. But for this one, I'm not really doing that. Anyways, I'm not building my team. I'm telling you what you guys should be looking out for anyways, as far as a wide range of characters. And in this case, I do kind of have a second DPS. I mean, I kind of have like 2.5. Lysanthe does some good damage. Wukong does some good damage. And then I have Newt doing big damage with his A3. So that's where that's coming from there. This one's a little bit different. So for the purposes of this, though, I'm going to kind of make some my own adjustments next time around. Some other good characters that I would like to kind of point out, though, as well, is also going to be characters, especially with Lysanthe, actually, is characters that can call in assists. So that's why I probably do need to fix this up a little bit. Farrakhan the Fat is an amazing Hydra champion who I am not utilizing properly right now because he does call in assists, and that calls in there's even more characters in Hydra, right, than you would be in Demon Lord or in Chimera. So this is getting even more attacks in. So that one's really nice there as well. Some other good characters, some other epics, I guess that's worth mentioning would be Rector Drath as a healer. Perfect Veil is something that's going to ignore the fear off of the Hydra heads, which is really important. I would say, and I'm going to go over all the Hydra heads here just in general in terms of what they do and what you need to watch out for. And depending on what rotation you're running, some are easier than others, in my opinion. Uh, there are some rotations where the Head of Decay does not start first. So that's the one where you need to provoke. So I think this time I'm not starting. There is no Head of Decay up front, which makes the starting kind of ramping up to be a little bit easier. But the Headed Blight basically does put out a lot of poisons. So even just the basic attack does AoE 3 poisons. Where this can become an issue is that one of the other heads puts up counterattack as a buff, which is why you need to have block buffs down. Because otherwise, let's say, for example, you have the counterattack on this head, and then anytime you hit the Head of Blight, it's going to counterattack with 5% poisons on your entire team. This can get really, really nasty really fast, and I've definitely wiped on that before by not having having the block buffs up as well. Also, Poison Cloud is not fun, but if you have block buffs up, this does not do anything. Poison Cloud is a really nasty buff as well that basically makes it very hard for you to land debuffs on the enemy because it messes around with the affinity tags and that kind of stuff there, or a weak hit, basically, essentially. The Head of Torment, that's something to watch out for because anytime you attack the Head of Torment and you're not under Perfect Veil, you get hit by a True Fear. And this is super irritating, which is why I had Feral the Barkhorn in my main top team. That's why any other character, there's not a ton of characters that can do AoE Perfect Veil. Rector Drath would be one of them. But another interesting character to include here on your Hydra team. This is just the super annoying part about that head particularly. The Head of Mischief does a lot of buff stealing. Misdirection as well can like redirect your attacks to a different character. That's kind of annoying, but I would say stealing the buffs. Again, this is why you need block buffs. A lot of the things can be countered on this Hydra boss if you have block buffs and you maintain block buffs on the enemy. It's really, really important that you do that. So again, the passive here redirecting an enemy attack onto another random head, but it will not occur if the head is under a hex debuff. So having AoE hex is also really nice to have alongside block buffs is the most important. But if you can manage to get a AoE hex on your team to do this as well, it's really nice, and that's also why I have Lysanthier Beastbane who can do that as well. So really nice to have. Actually, doesn't I think it's just single target hex. Actually, sorry, my bad, not AoE, but it does do AoE weaken and speed down. Also, HP Burn's always nice to have on this. Head of Wrath, honestly, I don't know too much about it, but I think Head of Wrath is just a big damage head. That's all I know. Places some debuffs, some nasty debuffs, but his passive, like he does, he can provoke the enemies as well, your side rather. 50% attack buff on himself. Decreases the damage all Hydra heads take by AoE attacks by 10%. So he has this weird, I think like reflection or something, the vengeance buff, right? I don't know. He does some kind of weird stuff where sometimes damage you can get hit by some damage as breath attack or something if you take too much damage at the same time. The Head of Decay we already talked about. This is basically the clans and it's the tank head, I suppose you could put it that way. And then we have the Head of Suffering, and this just does a lot of other random crap. So like the pain link increases the resistance of all heads by 50 when it's out, decrease the damage of all Hydra heads take from AoE attacks by 30. So I guess this is like a secondary tank head as well. And then puts an ally protection reflect damage buff on all heads as well. Again, another reason why you need to have block buffs and why that's so important. All right, so I wanted to run one version of Hydra with this. Normally, I would sim this, and I think after we run this, do a little bit of gameplay, I am going to go back and sim it, honestly, because this can take a little bit of time. Once you get the top chest of each difficulty, you are able to sim it. It does vary a lot, especially depending on the Hydra rotation and the heads. But like I said, right now, we're not starting with the Head of Decay. Fortunately, every time I hit this stupid, what is it, the Head of Torment, and I used the wrong skill there, gives me a True Fear, which is super irritating. But I wanted to get that block buffs off on everyone. Now, I'm going to start off with probably doing as much damage as I can here on the side. I'm surprised how much that did. Get as many debuffs as I possibly can get out as well, including the weaken we have there. And then we're going to go over there and get a hex on that side. But yeah, we have a bunch of true fears, which is kind of annoying. What I wanted to do is this, right, to buff all of my other characters there. Make sure you get as many debuffs, as many buffs up as you possibly can here. Clear that fear. But unfortunately, I have no way of getting rid of my true fear because I don't have perfect veil on this team, unfortunately. But we're going to basically go around and see how we do here. And again, even though I counterattack the stupid head, I still have a true fear. And I'm so afraid of like even getting feared off and like losing my skill. So I don't tend to actually use my major skills unless I really have to. If I'm under that, I actually try to avoid hitting this head if at all possible until I get like a really big attack. So we got some slows out there on all of them too, which is nice. I did get hit by a provoke, unfortunately, on this side, but I mean, things are already off to a good start. And again, I'm not gonna manual can take quite some time, especially if you're going back around, figuring out what to do. But the main thing is just to get as many buffs and debuffs as you possibly can. I want to get this head down. Can I? We'll do a block buffs as well over there again. I want to see if I can get this just to show you guys what happens when the head blows up, so you guys know that you should be kind of focusing on the head when it dies, because then when you get that in, they take significantly improved damage, and that's really important to have there. Let's see if we can blow it up. Let's blow it up. So when it gets decapitated, it does significantly more damage. We're gonna go over here. We're gonna do the Blessed Bash on that, and we're doing some big damage, right? 2.5 million over to 3.3 million over there. We're just gonna keep hitting it basically because it does take. I think it does say that it takes double damage or something like that, or is it? Where would it show? Is that somewhere down at the bottom? I guess it does take bonus damage. Just trust me. I don't know where it says it on the kit part, the exposed neck. Maybe it's that debuff, actually, the decapitated debuff. That's probably what it is. And then so what's really great about having AoE hex though is that your damage is shared around, and that's why why I love MITHRALA. Again, I know I'm using MITHRALA to then do content in Hydra, but she is one of the best champions in the game. Honestly, she makes such a big deal, and why it's important to make sure that you progress Hydra so that you can push further into this, get her unlocked, and then it just kind of snowballs from there, and everything gets a little bit easier in Hydra. It is, I would say, compared to Chimera, still probably the most hardest content, clan boss wise, but it's also important to start thinking about that and making sure that you have the team available, or slowly are building up a team to be able to do that. Now, once I get the head down, a new head comes back up, or after 2 turns, and there we go, and then we repeat the cycle again. So maybe I might just put it on manual auto, or I'll do a sim, and then we're gonna come back and see how much this team actually can put out. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna go back to what I had for my Hydra normal team here, and make sure that you're using the best gear possible. And what I mean by that is that, we were talking about gear sets, right? So making sure that they have the gear sets that you want. Put on the best stuff that you possibly can. I need to go back and double check some of my teams, but for Wukong, like I want to put my best. Where's Wukong down here? I always forget where he is. Where are you, Monkey King? So I want to put this is not his best gear, right? My best gear is actually what I apply to Mikey. So I have this set here called Mikey Main, and you can see that my crit damage is going up by 50%, like my attack's going up a little bit. So I'm going to actually be using this for the purposes of Hydra, and I want to make sure that all of my other characters are basically running the best gear that they can. I think Newt is pretty much already on his best gear anyways, but Tagore, right, I think I could probably get that up a little bit. There's some bolster gear here, but as far as getting his speed up, I think my Commodus set might be a little bit better than his, so I'm going to try putting that on and see what I get. Yeah, I get like 30,000 more HP. Speed is down a little bit. Accuracy's up. I forgot he doesn't really need accuracy, so maybe I could use the Donnie set. Actually, this might be a little bit better. More speed, HP, more accuracy again, but overall, it's still an improvement, right? So I'm going to run that on Tagore for this run. MITHRALA's fine. Lysanthire's fine. Ugo's fine. Actually, maybe, yeah, I think he should be okay. So we're going to hit Sim and see how this goes, right? I'm just going to see in this instance what this ends up doing before can we hit good turn counts on this? Wow, that's really surpassing my expectations. Holy cow. Okay. 17 million on Lysanthire, 17 million, 10.5 million on MITHRALA. That's shocking, actually. And then 10.5 million on Sun Wukong. So I am going to save this, actually, in fact. But again, I hope that some of this video might have helped you in terms of how to build a team for Hydra. It is very difficult, You need the right characters in place to do this. I would say the most important thing is having a block buffs champion. Speaking of that, Ugo is part of my promo code link. Really great epic, one of the best epics in the game, frankly, in my opinion, and helps in a lot of different content. You don't need a provoke champion, but it is quite helpful. So if you do have one available, then that is a good backbone for you. Otherwise, I would try and run a second block buffs. AoE block buff would be even better, right? Like Ugo has that too. And then after that, you basically want to run, one or two, a bunch of support characters. Tagore with being speed up, has some revive, usually not necessary on Hydra, I find, unless you're just really taking damage. But Tagore has that speed up, which is really important. Does have some shields. In this case, I'm using MITHRALA to beat Hydra after getting MITHRALA already. But you can easily substitute this in with another healer or another support character that's going to give you, say, defense up, attack up, these other buffs. You want to basically use as many buffs and debuffs as you possibly can while maintaining some of the more important ones like block buffs, provoke, this kind of thing, and then having one or two heavy hitters on your team to be able to get people out when they get swallowed up by the Hydra. This will happen about maximum, I think, a total of 4 times right before you time out. But for most average players, I would say about maybe 2 or 3 times that the Hydra could swallow a character up, but you're going to need to actually get some big damage out on that. And then when the heads blow up, of course, the Hydra heads blow up, then you need to be able to do that too. So that was Hydra. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments down below. How are you doing on your Hydra? What kind of pitfalls or struggles are you having? Again, if you're a new player, under 3 months, this might seem very daunting and very challenging, but know that as you unlock more champions, this will get progressively easier. And also thinking about what characters you should even be using on a Hydra team to start. Everyone has to start somewhere, whether it's a team A, a team B, or team C. Eventually you can use a total of 18 characters in Hydra over 3 different. Well, I guess you could use it on the same mode, but ideally you do want to eventually use it on 3 different modes so you can get as many different chests as you possibly can. So that's it for this video. But before I go, I do want to remind people, of course, that you can get Karato Fox Hunter absolutely free by using the promo code in the top right hand of the screen, Legendary of the Shadowkin, and 3 amazing epics, including one that we spent a lot of time talking about, Ugo, block buffs for the Hydra. Also Tagore, great champion there, and Deacon Armstrong at account level 15, 30, and 40 for all 3. Don't forget, you can also get the legendary Void Tahanarak of the Barbarian faction as well. Great, amazing support champion by using the promo code Desert Queen within the first 48 hours of a brand new account. That's it for me, everyone, and I'll see you guys all on the next video. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.